Oh, this is incredible. These are software languages, programming languages. Starting with Fortran, but it shows, I guess all the lines are showing the commonality to some extent. I know Fortran, I've learned a lot of these languages. This line here from Pascal to Ada, I know both of those. Ada is the language we use to develop that large command and control system in Cheyenne Mountain.
Wow. You know what's interesting when you look at this diagram? It superficially appears to be an evolutionary tree. But in fact, what this represents is an enormous, incalculable amount of creative activity by human intelligence. Each of these languages required at least one author, often more than one, right? And all along this pattern, you see human creativity bringing these things into existence.
That's exactly right. In fact, if you look at this and you think in terms of evolution, you might think that Pascal, for example, kind of evolved into Ada. Well, I don't deny that there are some similarities there, but I can tell you there was a whole team of people that were working on the development of Ada.
Right.
It wasn't a matter of taking Pascal and somehow squeezing it and putting it under pressure and popped out Ada. There was a lot of work that went into that.
Language, if you think about it, can give you goosebumps because it's a symbolic representation of reality. You know, going from the physical world and the immaterial world. I mean, we have languages about mathematics, and mathematics is immaterial. Mm-hmm. Going from those worlds into our own consciousness in a way that we can recreate those realities and express them to other people in symbolic form. Mm-hmm. And, you know, one aspect of that is these computer languages. Yeah. To me, all of it evincing design. We don't see language unless we have intelligence present. And we see language of a higher order present in living things. I'll tell you something funny about Fortran. A German team looked at the regularities in Fortran, that is, the ability to predict the next symbol in a string of symbols based on what came before. Fortran is less complex than the base sequence of the yeast third chromosome. So the DNA sequence in the yeast third chromosome is more irregular, packing in more information than Fortran. In fact, the yeast third chromosome, the sequence of symbols is almost perfectly random, except that randomness gives rise to functional proteins. So in a comparison, what you would have to say, if you're consistent, is DNA represents a language of an extremely high order. I think DNA is, as an information storage medium, has what we've developed beat hands down. So you can pack the 3 billion plus base pairs of DNA in the human genome, wrapping them up as we find them in real cells into something that's so small you need a microscope to see it. Yet there is an enormous amount of information in that tiny space. That's information storage.
Yeah. I've heard that DNA information and all that's contained there would fill volumes and volumes of books in terms of the lines of code, maybe millions of lines of code. When we developed the system for Cheyenne Mountain, it was about a total of 40,000 lines. It took us a year with a very sharp crack team. And most of our work was done to try to make sure that there was no errors in it.
Right.
Because an error in software you develop is disastrous.
Yeah.
But here we're talking about the information in a cell that is so good and so refined that it does amazing things.
It does amazing things. And the fascinating thing about all cells that we know is that they too have error correction mechanisms. They want to maintain high fidelity transfer of information. So there's error checking there as well. The same rules of information transfer, namely minimize noise, maintain your signal fidelity, present in these codes, present in living things.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.